Welcome to the John Trager Show. And if you're new here, this is the show where I don't pretend to be one personality, because I'm not, and neither are you. This season, you're meeting the parts of me that actually built my life. Not characters I'm performing, but parts forged through life, because life demanded it. And today, you're meeting the part of me that learned how to hold emotion before I had words for it. This part of me is called the songwriter. Now, when people hear that, they think this episode's going to be about music. It's not. It's not about songs. It's not about lyrics. It's about something much more simpler than that. Something more human. It's about what happens when you feel a lot and you don't know what to do with it. Before I ever thought of myself as a songwriter, I was just simply a kid that noticed something really important. Music. It sounded like how I felt. And once my body noticed that, it never switched off. Before I had language for emotion, I had sound. I still remember some of my earliest memories of being with my dad in his old ute. He was a ranger. He'd get called out by the police to get stock off the road, any kind of animal, just to ensure people were safe. And as we'd drive out to the job, we'd have Slim Dusty in the old cassette deck playing. I just remember that feeling. I felt happy. I felt safe. And this is long before anyone explained emotions to me. Before anyone asked me how I felt. The music already knew. Because the sound matched what was happening inside me. Calm sounded like calm, happy sounded like happy, and sad sounded like sad. I didn't know what emotions were. I just knew how they felt. As I got a little older, something shifted. It wasn't that music just made sense to me. I wanted to make it. I tried learning guitar when I was really young. I must have been about 5. My teacher was Sendell. And I want to take a moment here to pause. Because Carol was my first mentor. She gave me access to music before I had language for emotion. She gave me a tool that would later save my life. My dad wasn't musical. My mum wasn't musical. Carol brought music into my life. She opened that door. And Carol is the reason that the songwriter exists. I will be forever grateful for that. I won't explain it any more than that. I just wanted to say her name. Because along the way, there'll be some people that I really want to acknowledge. And she's one of them. Now, back to the story. I wasn't really disciplined at guitar. I didn't practice enough, and I didn't really have that natural talent that some people have. But when I sang, something happened inside me. The emotions that were sticking around that I couldn't seem to shake, they came loose. I could sing them away. And that's when something else happened. I started singing publicly. Back then, in a small country town, you didn't have any other option but to sing country. They were the only competitions that were available. So I got up onto a stage at 10 years old and started singing Slim Dusty, John Williamson, Lee Kernaghan. And that's when I learnt how powerful music really was. When I sang, my emotions didn't stay trapped in my body. They didn't create noise in my head. They just went somewhere. And that was new. After a year of singing lessons with Carol, something else shifted inside me. I became intrigued by the idea of writing my own songs. Every year, Carol would have a Christmas concert, and one year, she asked me a question that would change everything. She said, "Do you want to write and perform a song together?" I still remember it clearly now. The song was called "It's Christmas Time." And as I stood on that stage and I sung that song, something shifted inside me. Because for the first time, I wasn't singing someone else's story. I wasn't borrowing someone else's emotions. And I wasn't using someone else's words. The feelings that had been living inside of me finally had a voice, and it was mine. And from that moment on, I had no desire to sing anybody else's songs. I wanted to create my own. For years, I'd been singing other people's stories, but now I could tell my own. So over the next few years, Carol taught me about lyrics and writing poetry. And then when I was 15 and in high school, that's when I met James and Tusker. They were in a band and they played me a demo of them performing Silverchair's Freak live. And I was blown away. And from that moment on, I wanted to be part of that band. So I gave James some lyrics I'd written. He went away and he turned them into a song for the band. And that was the first time I'd heard my words performed by a full band. Someone else had written the music, the thing I couldn't do yet, but my words were finally being heard. I had to be in that band, except I didn't play an instrument. The band needed a bass player, and I remember looking at the bass and thinking, 4 strings, play one at a time? How hard can this be? I raced home to Mum and Dad and I begged them for a bass. After a massive amount of sacrifice, one day I came home from school and there it was, laying on the bed, the bass. And from that moment on, I was in a rock band. And that's when I understood the difference. Singing helped make emotion move, but writing gave it meaning. This wasn't about music. It wasn't about talent. It's not even about songwriting. It's about taking the things that I felt and making them something new. Taking raw emotion and turning it into a song. Taking my feelings and giving them meaning. There's something important I need to say right here. Before I had the parent, before I had language for emotion or understanding of emotional intelligence, this part was already working. And as I moved into my later teens, the emotions got heavier, more complex. I didn't know what depression was. I just knew something was wrong. And so I did what I've always done. I wrote songs. Those songs weren't abstract ideas. They were my life, my pain, my grief, my depression. And standing on stage as David and singing those songs so directly, that did not feel safe. So something else happened. That's when I created John Trager. At first, John Trager wasn't a personality, a brand, an identity I was trying to become. He was a shield. He was a way of standing up on a stage, being vulnerable, without feeling completely exposed. Over time, the shield became a mask, not something dishonest or fake, something to protect me. It was a way of standing up in front of the world and not feeling destroyed by what was being seen. David felt the emotion, and John Trager, he carried it. The things I couldn't say to people, didn't have words for, or didn't feel safe putting in the conversation, I put them into music. The lyrics looked abstract, but underneath the surface, they were doing something very real. They were releasing pressure. That's why this part matters so much. The songwriter wasn't trying to heal me. It wasn't trying to fix me. It wasn't even trying to make sense of anything. It was just giving the emotion somewhere to go. And as the years went on and things got darker and heavier, it kept the ship sailing. Not because it had the answers, but because it created movement. Before the parent saved my life, the songwriter helped me survive it. This part doesn't exist to make art, and it doesn't exist to be impressive. My job is not to be perfect. My job is to release pressure. The songwriter is an emotional release valve. It stops the pressure from building, stops it all from flooding out. This part kept emptying the bath long before I understood what would happen if it didn't. That's its job. Not performance, not perfection. Pressure relief, survival, and safety. So when I talk about the songwriter, I'm not talking about being an artist. I'm talking about a function. The songwriter is the part of me that learned how to make emotion move through my body before it created damage, before I had emotional intelligence, language, and tools. I had a guitar, my voice, and some words that didn't even seem to make any sense. The songwriter is a release valve. When pressure builds and sadness has nowhere to go, anger has no safe outlet, and grief is becoming too heavy to carry, the songwriter steps in and it says, hey, let it out here. Not to fix it, heal it, or make it disappear. Just to stop it from staying stuck. And that matters because stuck emotion doesn't stay quiet. It leaks, it erupts, it shuts the whole system down. And when nothing releases the pressure, something else steps in. I call it the circuit breaker. You'll meet it later. This is where I want to slow things down and invite you in. This part is mine, but the function isn't unique. Everyone needs an emotional release valve. Some people move their bodies, some people write, some people breathe, talk, create, and some people haven't found theirs yet. And if you don't have one, the pressure doesn't just disappear. It looks for another way out. So this isn't about music. It's not about talent. And it's not about doing it my way. This is an invitation to notice what moves emotion through you without hurting you. That's the work. Every part you're meeting this season has a job. None of them are wrong, none are the enemy. The problem only starts when a part starts doing a job it was never meant to do alone. The songwriter doesn't lead, it releases. And when it's supported by the parent and guided by the director, it becomes medicine, not chaos. That's why I don't call myself a musician. Music was never the point. Survival was. So that's the songwriter. And like you, there's no one version of me. I'm a collection of parts. And these parts go together to make the John Trager Show. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I can't wait for you to meet the next part of me, because this part comes with its own truth.